Greg, I had a whole show planned out based on this one funny incident that happened a couple of weeks ago, and it took me down a whole rabbit hole of finding tips and just advice to give parents on minimizing device distraction, right? Because we know that's a big deal nowadays. Some kids are like crazy, like consumed. But this is our first episode back from a short little break that we took, and I figured that was going to be too heavy a topic to get into.
Yeah, I mean, you even got me thinking about it. I was thinking,
Right.
okay, what do I do with my grandkids? Because I don't manage my kids anymore. That would be, yeah.
Right.
If you think herding your grandkids around is hard, try doing it with multiple adult kids. No.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was my first thought. I remember your reply back was, I don't do much of that anymore. I do have the grandkids, and I'm like, I have grandkids, but um, I have my kids too, and I still manage their device. I forget that your kids are literally grown adults now. So
Yep.
so so today I figured we'll just take it easy. We'll do a little catch up to let everybody know where we've been, the reason why we've missed, and just to give everybody an update on what's going on. Then I wanted to finish up with just some headlines of what's going on in the tech industry and things like that, and finish up with what's the latest news on the iPad. Right? We hadn't got any big kind of some big leaks. We'll talk about what's going on with the iPad later. So I wanted to talk about um, just an easy topic today. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds good. I know we took off last week. It just was unavoidable, and I was on
Right.
vacation the week before, but today is not the day to go in deep. So, and there's
Yeah.
a few rumors we can chit chat about. So,
Yeah. So we're gonna have some tech, but this is Gadgets for Family, the tech show where you get two tech grandpas talking about technology and things like that. And this week, you're literally gonna get two grandpas talking about tech. So stick around with us today. All right. Don't forget to subscribe and keep sharing those shorts. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe and follow and share. We really appreciate it. I have to confess, I even forget to hit the like button sometimes because the majority of the viewing I do on YouTube is either on like the TV in the shop, the Apple TV, or on one of the televisions here. So I actually forget to hit the like sometimes, but I'll remind myself to go back in, rewatch some of the videos just to hit like and scroll through. The same thing with those shorts, just hit that little thumbs up. You can do it with your TV remote or Apple TV remote, whatever you're using, and just hit that like.
yeah, they
We
need to
really
make it
appreciate
so
it.
you can tell Siri or the Amazon
Right,
assistant or whoever, right? You
right,
can tell
right.
them to like it.
That would
That'd
that
be
would be a
nice.
good update, and it'll make things a lot easier too. So,
Yeah.
um, also, if you're a fan of Fallout like I am, you may have heard that there was a TV show that just released last week. Stick around for the post show. I'm going to do a quick and easy spoiler free review of the show. Not anything in depth. We're not going to go episode per episode, but we can do that at a later date if you guys like it. But
No,
just a
we
quick
can't.
little.
We can't because I'm not going to watch it. So if you've
Right,
been
right.
saying, man, we just want a good video with just Jason, forget Greg, leave that grumpy grandpa out of this. The post show will be the thing for you because I'll go first in the post show and it'll
Right.
take me like 20 seconds and then it'll be all Jason after that.
Right, right. Yeah, this is one, and I'll agree. I recommend some things to you, Greg, but this is one I won't. It's out there. It's out there.
Jason
But
is really good about understanding what I do and what I don't do. And
right,
I mean, he'll even tell me, "Hey, you should watch this show," but there's this one part that you're not gonna like. So I really
right.
appreciate that, Jason. And I'm not
Yeah,
watching
yeah.
Fallout.
No problem. I try to be respectful, but yeah, stick around for the post show after the main show if you guys want to hear that review. So let's do some catching up, Greg. It's been, we stay in touch with text messages a few times a day, a couple of days a week or so, but we really hadn't had a chance to really just talk. One, I don't like to disturb you when you're on vacation, and you do the same with me. So we really try to help each other tune out when we're on vacation. I know you share a few articles and things, and you have a real habit of trying to do some work and stuff, whenever you have free time. But we didn't talk then, and then the next week after that, I was slammed doing some things with my job and stuff like that. Um, so let's do some catching up. The week before last, we didn't record a show because you took a camping trip, which you always look forward
Yep.
to. So tell us, how was the trip? How did everything go?
And it was great. And you and my main client right now both must have had the same idea, because emails from my client and the vendor we're working with, we're doing some software implementation. They
Right.
just stopped on Monday. And I didn't realize it, because I actually did pretty good about not pulling out my laptop for the most part. But
Okay.
when I came back the next Monday and was going in to look, I went, did they decide they're done with me? Because I got nothing after that. And my main contact said, no, no, no. He said, I knew you would go in and look at stuff. So I just had everybody take you off the distribution list. There was nothing you could
Okay.
do anyway. So, no, it was great. It was Easter and it was our spring break. And we went down to southern Utah, which is where we're looking to move.
Hmm.
And we were talking before the show, but my daughter, she did some interviews while she's down there, and we did some exploration of parts of the town that we had
Hmm.
never been in. But the biggest thing for me was I didn't work. By the way, the only reason I can't bug you when you go on vacation, because you go on a cruise ship and
Right.
there's no
Right.
internet. So, but
Right.
no, my biggest thing was the bike rides, and I
Right.
did 70 plus miles on my bike, and most of those were trail riding, same set of trails, because they were right
Hmm.
by the campground, and I literally did not have to leave the campground to go on them. But they were just, it was fantastic. And even on the
Right.
days where I'm like, man, I'm going to be too tired or I've pushed it too far, I'd get a couple hours into the day and go, nope, I need to
Yeah.
go for a bike ride. And uh,
Yeah.
Karen and I actually took the e-bikes on a paved trail that they have that runs right along the Virgin River. That was cool, because then we got to see some parts of town too that you wouldn't normally get to
Okay.
see. And that actually goes almost from the um, west side of the area clear almost to the far east
Hmm.
side of the area. So it was 10 miles out and 10 miles back. So that was a fantastic e-bike ride. So I
Yeah.
needed it. It set us up well to be able to go to start the process of moving. You'll notice, and you'll
Mm.
hear in my audio, that there's probably a little bit of an echo, and you'll notice no posters over here behind the shoulder, but this
Yeah.
was the catalyst. This was the thing that we needed to go make sure that everything was that we felt like things were going to start falling into place to start moving.
Hmm.
So I've got boxes and totes, and most of this office is packed up. And um, so, yeah, we're starting that whole process. So, but it was a great
Okay.
trip. I didn't want to come home. I had the same problem as I did at Thanksgiving. I was an hour away, less than an hour away, and it was already freezing cold. And we got out of the next big town, and it was
Yeah.
below any reasonable temperature. And when we got home, I had to put on fleece and a beanie to be able to unpack. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Not good. Not good. I remember you
no.
told me you were halfway home and you already had to break out the jacket and everything. So, yeah, that is not the welcome home that most people would, look forward to, but hey, you made it there. What's the
The rest of
temperature today? How
the
is it?
rest of the
How is it
week was
today?
nice. The rest of that week was nice. We went out and did
Okay.
stuff. And matter of fact, Friday I went up the canyon on a bike ride, and then it was supposed to snow and rain yesterday. We didn't get snow in the valley, but the mountains right next to us got more snow.
Mm.
Today it's supposed to be back up into the upper 50s, I think. So, but
Oh,
sunny. So, reasonable weather um
no, it's
for
not.
us, but I can still go out and ride bikes in I can go out and ride bikes in 30-degree weather.
Yeah.
Um it's not the best thing, but I can still do it. But yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, so that was you answered my next question that I had on the list was what was up with those bike rides. So I remember you telling me too, you struggled a little at first because
yep.
it was so cold down where you are and you hadn't rode. I know you do your inside bike, but it's not the same. I know it gets you, it gets your heart rate up and all of that. It's more of a maintenance kind of riding on your inside, or when
Yeah.
you put it on the little
Or
mound. But
or
actually
even
being
around
out,
here. Even around
right?
here, because I like Thursday of last week, I think I did 12 miles and I got some hills in, but
Hmm.
it's mostly street riding. And it's just not the same as being on dirt trails and trying to climb up through rocks and
Right,
dirt
right,
and slick stuff and super steep climbs for 30 feet. And then, it's just
right,
not the
right.
same.
You really have to focus. So I remember you saying though it kind of got easier probably
Yeah.
around day three or so of all of those rides. So um, by the time your last ride, did it
Yeah.
feel familiar? You felt like you were back in it?
Yeah, and I felt like my legs and lungs could keep up. So Friday, I
Right.
mean, the elevation, it's almost 2,500 feet lower in elevation.
Okay,
So
so it's lower there.
yeah. So
Okay.
when I came back up and I went Friday, I went even up to a higher elevation from here
Hmm.
and thought, oh man, I'm gonna die,
Yeah.
right? Because it's just so much harder when you have that big of
Right.
an elevation. But it actually wasn't too bad. So
Okay.
So yeah,
That's good
I feel
news.
like I'm making progress, and I know your next question is what's next. Our next trip officially scheduled is Memorial Day, and that actually may be the start of like 2 or 3 months of camping because we don't
Okay.
want to be in the house while it's listed, and we want it to hopefully sell. And I really don't want to go down to southern Utah in July and August. I'd rather wait until later in August till we have to get the kids back down there for school because it's going to be
Right.
warm. But so Memorial Day is the next one, and that's even further up north, and that's the big mountain trails that I normally do. So I feel like I'm on the right path to be in good enough shape by the
Hmm.
time we go, to be
Yeah.
able to do that. So
So what are you gonna do? And this may be too personal a question if you don't want to answer, but are you gonna still use the house as like a home base? Right? Are you gonna store your stuff in a garage, or what are you gonna do?
yeah. So
Okay.
right now I've got a really big shed. So at least for the moment, we're
Okay.
just storing everything. We've got half the shed will be yard sale or garbage, depending
Hmm.
on what sells, right? And then the other half will be the stuff that we've got three labels: yard sale, storage, and temporary storage, which means it needs to go with us when we
Right.
move, but we're trying to get things sized down, right? So that we can, again, get this place listed. We don't want to list this house with the grandkids and everybody living here. It's just too
Right.
hard to keep it prepped for showings and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, everything will go there. We'll probably get a bigger storage unit here because I've got a piano that's going to Dustin, my wife's cedar chest, my desk from my grandpa. So we've got some bigger pieces of furniture, and then we have some stuff that'll just stay in storage. So we'll probably have a bigger storage unit here to put that
Hmm.
kind of stuff in, and then we'll probably have a smaller one down where we're going, just
Okay.
to, especially if we're in the trailer to start with, because there's just not room enough for everything. But that's where we
Right.
might need to store like the winter jackets and stuff like that. So winter down there is not the same, but it still does get cold. It still will
Right.
get
Right.
down to freezing, a couple of
Yeah.
months of the year. So
And
that's
I
the
would
plan.
imagine it's going to be a bit of an adjustment to know. I mean, you camp a lot, but you know what I mean. Living with all of your stuff in a home to basically tiny living uh, for longer periods of time, it's going to be quite an adjustment. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it would make sense to have a storage to be able to go get the stuff that you need, especially transitioning through these seasons and stuff.
Well, what I don't want to do is say, oh, yeah, we found a place where we can park an RV
Hmm.
for a year, right? And get in it and get 6 months into it and go, oh, this is horrible. Let's go get an apartment or rent a
Right.
house or buy a house. And then have to go, oh, yeah, we got rid of
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the other thing. But then also my kids are starting to claim everything because Kristen's moving into an apartment with her kids.
Hmm.
Wyatt will be moving into an apartment at some point. And so they're like, oh, can we have the couch? Can we have the dining room table?
Right.
I mean, so we've got dishes and a lot of that stuff going on. So
Right.
the one thing I'd advise everybody, and I know this is not really tech related, but you definitely should use tech to do this, is just make sure you go one step at a time. Don't try
Yeah.
and plan everything out, which is what we're doing. So Chris got her job. Now she's going to look for a place to live. Then Karen and I are going to figure out what we're doing from a financial standpoint.
Hmm.
and then we'll decide what we're going to do from a living standpoint, whether we're going to, try and rent something close to Chris and the kids, or
Yeah.
whether we're going to, or what we're going to do. So,
So, but that is a good tech angle. I mean, let's bring it back to tech. Remember to use those things like the Notes app, the Reminders
yep.
apps on your phone. Use planners, and we use an app for our long term and short term goals with the company and stuff. Use things like that to
Yeah.
list out and just to make sure that you're not missing any steps or forgetting to contact certain people by certain deadlines and
Yeah.
utilities and stuff like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
use those apps.
We've got a shared folder in Notes. We've been
Right.
using AirDrop. We've been using text messages to send links and stuff back and forth, and
Hmm.
um, you know, all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. So I don't know how you do this without tech, right? I
Yep.
mean, she's using
Yeah.
apartments.com or the app, right, to find a bunch of places that are available down there. And for her job, she was able to apply for most all of these jobs just straight from her phone.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I always say our most important tool that we use for our company and for the family is our shared calendar. Like I wouldn't remember anything with the kids, doctor's appointments, baseball games, things like that, if they weren't in the shared calendar. It's a real powerful tool. Yeah,
Yep.
I know it's just a calendar. It just shows the date for most people on the phone, but when you really get in there and start using it how it's meant to be used, it's a really powerful tool. So
Yeah. So,
so
Jason, I want to hear from you because you've been posting some new stuff on PopLife's Instagram channel. Now, everybody should
right.
follow PopLife on Instagram, but if you're in the Houston area, you are missing out if you're not checking out all these places
Right.
that Jason's group is selling popcorn. So, big deal.
Yes, yeah. So we had been working at it for a while, and that's the contract with Buffalo Bayou. So it's a kiosk, just like in the mall or shopping center. Only it's our tent, it's our setup, and we signed a year contract with them, and it's been really great for for it to just be starting off. Now I know it's going to be rough in the summer with the heat and everything. I know things are going to slow down, but man, we are really having a blast. So Buffalo Bayou is basically the biggest park in Houston, right next to Discovery Green, which we also work with. But this one is the park that houses the Houston Zoo, the Miller Outdoor Theater, and a few other what do they call those facilities or parks or whatever in the area. There's the golf course down there. There's the Japanese tea garden and all of that. So basically, the biggest park space in Houston in Harris County, and there's just constantly always events and shows and the zoo and the train and everything going on. There's a reflection pool, the paddle boats. There's something going on. So it's just a busy spot in Houston, down in the museum district. And we've been blessed and fortunate enough to be able to come down there and sell our products and stuff. And yeah, it's just been really great. So since we've been there, they've had the Kite Festival, which was thousands of kites. You guys can check that out on the Instagram. They were giving away free kites. People had the big, giant, fancy kites that look like dragons and birds and stuff like that. Um, all the way down to the little diamond shaped kites that the little kids fly with the little flyer on the tail
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
things like
Charlie
that.
Brown.
Yeah, the Charlie Brown kite. And then they had the grand opening for the what they're calling the Commons area. And it has a big rocket ship slide and a water park splash pad. All free. All free. This is some good free family fun if you're in the Houston area. Just bring your kids down. Plenty of areas to picnic. Even they even have grills where if you want to come and grill some burgers or some hot dogs or things like that. But if you don't get one of those benches, there's plenty of space to just spread out on one of the lawns there and feed the ducks and the turtles and there was a big nature like trail, and it's a little short trail. It's not anything huge, but it goes from the Lake Plaza, the main lake where the paddle boats and stuff goes, all the way down to Fannin Street almost, where you can walk the trail and you can fish and all that. It's catch and release, but you can fish there. And again, there's turtles and all kinds of other birds and wildlife and stuff to feed. Just great family fun. You know, if you're having a birthday party for your kid and for your child, and you wanna you know, a good place to have it where there's good clean playgrounds and things like that. It's no other place. So enough about that. That was really good, really fun. Um, but
So you're selling popcorn there. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
go to the park for free, but bring the money for the kettle corn from
Oh yeah,
PopLife,
yeah.
right?
Definitely buy
Because
some watermelon tahini kettle corn or whatever. And you'll see on the video from last week, uh, there were some ladies out with their kids and stuff, and they just bought a ton of popcorn. They had a bunch of different flavors, and it was just like a Pop Life picnic right in the middle of the park. So yeah, yeah, good times with that. I'm really enjoying it. And I really appreciate the folks at the Herman Park Conservatory and the Discovery Green Conservatory and the folks over at Buffalo Bayou for allowing us to be able to come and sell our popcorn there. So that's really good. But so the vacation, your vacation was one week that we missed, but the next week we had to miss, which was last week, and it was because of the stupid tax stuff. So
yeah, I can't. I really don't want to talk about taxes.
yeah, yeah, I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but um, as most people know, the tax deadline was yesterday. So our accountant had us running around trying to identify a bunch of stuff, and I messaged Greg. I'm like, man, I hate to do this, but I can't record because I'm spending all day chasing stuff down for her, and spent most of the week doing that. Got my part done, and the outcome yesterday was a deadline. What did we do? We had to file for an extension. So it didn't go it didn't go quite as we wanted, you know, as we planned, but uh I'll leave it
Yeah,
at that. You know, tech stuff is just not something I'm good at or like.
there,
So,
yeah. I mean, there's two things, and then there is a tech angle to both of these, but there's two things that stress me out about being self-employed. One is insurance,
right.
and the other one is taxes. So you need an accountant pretty much no matter what if you're going to have your
Yes.
own business. I actually use FreshBooks, which is an online SaaS platform. It's something I heard back when I used to be listening to MacBreak Weekly, the Twit
Hmm.
Network. It was one of their sponsors. So I actually use
Okay.
that. It works fine because my stuff is super, super simple, not complicated like yours probably is, because I'm not buying supplies and, you
Yeah.
know, none of that kind of stuff. But so I use that, and then I can walk in with my reports to my accountant. But there's always something, right? And
Yeah.
it's the IRS, and it's a government organization. It's massive. They've been hiring thousands and thousands of people lately
Yeah.
to try and get things caught up, and the pandemic wreaked havoc. And so anyway, that continues to stress me out. I don't even want to think about it right now. And then
Yeah.
the insurance stuff. The great thing about some of the legislation that has been passed, put aside politics for a minute, but the opportunity to have things like the healthcare portal where you can go in and look for your
Hmm.
insurance options, and um, it does help you find insurance at least right now.
Yeah.
It's probably best for people that don't have special needs, like some of my wife's stuff with her arthritis, some of her
Hmm.
meds and stuff, they're specialty meds, and so that's wreaked havoc on us this year. But if you just need, you know, like for Dustin and Wyatt, they both have their own policies now through the portal. I mean, single, don't make a lot of money, don't have a lot of health problems, right? They just really
Right.
need emergency, you know, once a year for a checkup and emergency stuff.
Hmm.
It is really, really helpful for that. And there are a lot of people that wouldn't be able to get insurance without this portal. So I don't want to knock
Yeah.
it from that. But those two things they still stress me.
Yeah.
They still stress me out. So, and for a business, you don't get to just stress about taxes uh, once a year. You get to stress about it every
Yeah. Every
quarter.
quarter. Every quarter.
So,
And I know we said we're not going to go too much into it, but man, the numbers never match up, right? You sell stuff, you pull out the taxes, it goes in a different account, and that's the number. And you think you can just take that number and just say, here, this is yours, just take it. But they say, no, this number doesn't match this number on the paper. This is what we want. And you're like, well, what do you mean? This is it's the number. I don't change anything. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it just the
But
numbers
see,
never match up, and it's
I don't have to
frustrating.
deal with that at the moment, right? Because I'm
Right.
services. I'm a services business, so there is no pulling out sales tax of all this kind of stuff. But you
Yeah.
also have to deal with things like unemployment tax, and if you've got employees, right, you got to
Yeah.
put all of
Yeah.
that stuff in there. So anyway, it's
Yeah.
super stressful, and so
So, but now we're back. Hopefully, we can get on a regular schedule. We'll be back to
yeah,
our regular scheduled program.
I make
I
no
know you folks
promises.
missed us.
As busy as you are right now, Jason, with trying to get this stabilized until summer drives
Right.
traffic down a little bit,
Yeah.
and with me trying to get ready to go, we make
Yeah.
no promises. Our goal is to record once a week for an hour ish.
Right.
So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. We're gonna make it happen as much as we can. So if we have to skip
Yep.
some here and there, uh, we'll definitely try to keep you guys occupied with our shorts, our little short conversations or something like that. So we'll
Yep.
figure something out, guys. You won't, we won't be absent from your lives. We just won't be as present as we've been.
Yep. Well, we're
So
26 minutes in, Jay. Should we talk about tech maybe?
yeah. Let's talk about tech during the tech show, right? So the topics this week, we're just gonna briefly just go over some headlines about what's going on in the tech world, right? So the first one I got is like we reported a few weeks back about the iPad OS being huge, right? We talked about how even if we get new hardware soon, the hardware is pretty much going to be useless until we get new software during WWDC this year. So the rumors are coming out that iOS 18 is supposed to be the biggest update ever, right? We mentioned things about the AI, uh, um, basically making Siri smarter. Is going to help with that, and
Making
some other
Siri
stuff.
smart,
Yeah,
not
making Siri
smarter,
smart.
smart.
Smart, yeah, because it is and this is something we've been wanting for years, right? We've been wanting Siri to actually be,
Yeah.
more of a smart assistant instead of just, the machine learning and the basic commands that we can give her. Um,
Yep.
yeah, what do you think about that? iOS
I,
being big. I mean,
we'll see. I mean, we'll see what kind of functionality they add into it, right?
yeah,
And if it's really all AI stuff, what is that really going to be like? I know there's some people
yeah,
that Apple started releasing papers on some of their language learning models and some of their AI stuff, and people are pretty impressed because they're trying to do it the right way.
hmm
There's also kind of this vague rumor slash feeling out there that there may be a user interface revamp with 18. So I
okay,
I don't know. I mean, what else are they going to add in? I guess we'll have to see. WWDC, I might, eat my words, but I just don't know what they're going to do that's going to be this biggest update ever. I mean, frankly, I'd like them to not have some of the bugs and back end issues that we saw when we upgraded to 17, which we'll get to in a minute,
right,
which I think I'm seeing some more of. But okay, we'll see. We'll see what
yeah.
the AI can do for our lives.
Yeah, yeah. That among a few other things we mentioned, just like with iPad OS, you'll be able to sort the home screen uh, where you want instead of sticking to that grid.
So
That's something we've been
I read up on that. The grid still exists,
okay.
but
It's just
you know
adding
how
more space, or
it's being able to add spaces in the grid. So you know
okay,
how right now, if you download a new app, it just automatically goes to the next blank
right,
space in the grid, whether it's on the existing screen or has to create a new one. No, this is the ability to not have every grid filled up, every grid space filled up. That's what it ended
okay,
up being. So I'm like, okay.
yeah, no
So
big deal. And I know Android users out there are probably going, "Hey, I've been doing that since
yeah,
since my
I
first
could
Android
skin
phone."
my phone however I want.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
you
they're
can.
saying it. So we're finally going to get that this year. Big whoop. But yeah, excited to see what else is coming. WWDC is going to be a pretty big deal this year.
Can I tell you what I'm most excited for at WWDC? We don't even have this on the list, but I'm excited to see what they do with Vision OS. So
Okay.
with
Are you
one point,
expecting a lot? I hadn't seen
I
many.
I'm
many
expecting
rumors.
a lot. I don't think there's rumors because I don't think people have any idea of what's next, right? There's no pattern
Yep.
to look at. But with Vision OS 1.1, they released what they call spatial personas. So, on Vision OS, you can create your own persona that kind of looks like you, but it's kind of a
Hmm.
cartoon thing, right? Well, it used to be like when you were on a FaceTime call, it was just in a glass square and just sat there.
Yep.
But they've released what they call spatial personas. And so now you can go on a FaceTime call and it takes the glass box out.
Okay.
And so now you're kind of in relative space. And so there's a few things you can do. They're calling it shared experiences, but like, let's say you've got Freeform up and you wanted it like it's a whiteboard and you wanted the two of you on Vision OS to take a look at this whiteboard together. Well, you're
Hmm.
talking to each other across the way. And then when you put up this Freeform board and share it, all of a sudden you're side by side.
Okay.
And because of spatial audio, now it sounds like that other person's coming from your side, not from right in front of you. And they said it even works if the other person decides to stand up, that you'll see them higher than you and the audio shifts. And so these really are these shared experiences that they've been talking about. And
Yeah.
some of the podcasters I follow played, there's some games out and they played Battleship in spatial with spatial experience or shared
That's pretty
experiences.
cool.
So you actually couldn't see all of their face unless they peeked up from behind their board like you would in a Battleship game, and you can't go
Hmm.
around and peek at their board. It blocks it out. And so they said that was super, super cool. Now these are kind of one-off kinds of things, right? But so I'm really curious to see what they do next with Vision OS. How do they
Hmm.
improve some of this functionality? So I'm super excited to see that. I'm really excited to see what they do with iPad OS, but at least at the moment, my computing environment's pretty stable with my MacBook
Right.
and my phone. And maybe I'd like to see what they do with WatchOS. Are we really going to get, you know, a big revamp for this 10th anniversary edition of the watch or whatever the case may be? But I'm
Right.
excited about Vision OS, probably more than iOS. And iPad OS, I don't want to get my hopes up because they always get crushed.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here. I told you iPad is always the afterthought when it comes to iOS, but I'm hoping this year it'll change. I'm
Yep.
hoping this year that will change. But so you remember the last what was it, the last two seasons of DS9, if you watched a few episodes, that when they would do a call either like to Starfleet Command or someone else, it was making a hollow projection on like the bridge or wherever they were of the person they were calling. So it looks like the Vision Pro is taking us one step closer to that,
Yeah.
being able
I
to
mean,
have.
if you traveled enough, let's say you were married with your kids or whatever, right? And you
Hmm.
traveled enough and could afford it, this would be a pretty cool way to keep
Yep.
in touch and still be able to do fun things or whatever the case may be. So,
Right. Right.
but yeah, we'll see.
All right. Next on the list is Legacy of Monsters
Oh
Season 2
yeah, green
announcement.
light.
So
Woohoo!
when you sent me this, I'm like, yes, that wasn't a one off. It wasn't a just one of those shows that's going to get buried or something like that. But not only season 2 to Legacy of Monsters, they're talking a spinoff too. So we're talking two different shows based in that monster monarch universe.
Yeah, yeah. And we won't spoil this if you have not watched Legacy of Monsters.
Yep.
It's a must watch, even for some of its faults. And we did a post show about this a while ago, but where it ended up, it was not really a cliffhanger, as in the storyline kind of wrapped up, but
Hmm.
where they ended up and what was right at the very end, like the last 30 seconds of the episode, you're like, please don't stop here.
Yep. Yep.
Please keep going. So, and I'm not a big monster movie person, right? I mean, I've seen a lot of this stuff, but yeah, I was super excited when I saw that this got the green light.
Yeah.
And we'll see what the spinoff is, but if it's as good as Legacy of Monsters, that was a fantastic show.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. I remember the Switch universes here, Stargate, and knowing the story from Stargate, from loving the movie to loving the SG1 show and all of that. And they said, well, we're going to have a spinoff it was Atlantis, you're like, well, what could they possibly do? Do you know what I
Oh
mean? To
yeah.
make a different show. And I liked it. I liked
Oh
it.
yeah.
So spinoffs aren't necessarily going to be a flop or some other focus of the story or whatever. They can keep the same theme, keep the same feel of the universe going with
Yeah.
different characters and different things like that. So yeah, I'm
I
with it.
mean,
I'm with it.
Atlantis was my favorite of the Stargate
Right.
stuff. But if you think about Star Trek, it's all spin-off, right? So you
Yeah.
had the original
Yeah.
Star Trek, but then the Next Generation was by far the most popular Star Trek that has ever had out there. But right
Yeah.
now it's Strange New Worlds. And so Discovery is wrapping up. This will be the last season of
Yeah.
Discovery, but Strange New Worlds, they said, is the most popular Star Trek show since the Next Generation. Picard was
Right.
good, but I think that one's done, right? Yeah, that one's done.
Yep.
Picard's
That one's
done.
done. And then the
Picard is done.
spinoff of what is it, Sector 19 is coming. And
Yeah,
that's gonna be that's a spinoff itself. And I'm excited for that one because I think
yeah,
it's going to have the same look and feel as Strange New Worlds, but it's just going to show the origins and stuff of
yeah.
that organization. So
Well,
I'm
I'm
looking forward
excited
to
for the
that one.
next season of Strange New Worlds because they left that at definitely at a
Yeah,
spot where you're like, no, no, we gotta have more there. So yeah, I think this will be, if they do it as well as they did Legacy of Monsters, it ought to be great.
yeah, yeah. All right. The next one we have is the M3 iMacs. Now these are the all-in-one uh, uh,
Yellow,
desktop.
orange.
Yep, they come in a fancy color. So they're at an all-time low with the price. I think it's like $150 cheaper than the original price when they launched. So 1149, you know, I think it's too much for that type of computer. I would like to see it come down to maybe about $1,000 or so, and I would recommend it more. But if you're in the market for one, um,
Yeah.
yeah, all time new price. They still have those nice colors that everyone seem to really care for. So if you're looking to get one, now may be the time. Um, but the good news about that, if you're not into the latest and greatest, or just absolutely need an M3 processor, it pushed the M1 iMac down to $799 on Woot. So I think that sale goes on all week. Um, I went to the site and I saw Woot. It had celebrating 20 years, and I literally never heard of this site until you sent me the the Beats earpods that I bought for
Yeah.
my wife. I'd never heard of Woot, but apparently they've been around for 20 years. So I know it's an Amazon site now; they're Amazon property. But yeah, seven ninety
So
nine for the M1.
so here's the question. When do we cross the threshold where nobody's buying a desktop all in one or even a
Right,
desktop computer except for folks with niche needs, either
right.
high end pros that need all the power in the world or somebody that needs like a Mac Mini for a server. Put that stuff aside. But if you just think
Hmm.
about your regular consumer, your family, or whatever the case may be, when do they stop buying the iMac, for example,
Hmm.
and just it's all MacBooks? I mean, the ratio of MacBook to iMacs is
Yeah,
probably 10 to 1 or something like that. I mean, it's
mm,
crazy how much more the MacBooks sell. But
yeah,
if you remember, we talked about Walmart selling the M1 MacBook Air now,
yeah.
right? At what was it?
It's
300?
six. No, I think was it 599?
I thought it was cheaper than that. I'll look it up so we can remind
Maybe
folks.
it
But
was in iPad
um,
range. I remember it being in iPad range. It was very very inexpensive.
But yeah, so if you think about Walmart selling that stuff, 699. Yeah, you were right. So
Hmm.
699, which is crazy cheap for a MacBook Air, right? I mean, they've only been 999 and 899 for education, but that M1
Yeah,
is just fine.
yeah,
If you don't need the latest and greatest, then this is absolutely the deal to
yeah.
go with from a MacBook standpoint. So the question is, when does it switch over, right? When do we get to the point where it's all MacBook? And is that why Apple is starting to do something
Right.
like this? I mean, part of Tim
Drop those
Cook's
prices.
part of Tim Cook's legacy has been keep the older stuff around as long as you possibly can. Well,
Hmm.
now with this Walmart deal with a MacBook, so you've got the M2 MacBook Air on sale at like $100 less than the M3 MacBook Air.
Hmm.
But then you've got this super cheap version that's 2 generations old that Apple doesn't have to advertise on their website, but that it looks like they're still continuing to make so that Walmart can sell it. And Walmart's massive, right?
Right.
And then I'll tie this into our next one, which is the rumor is that the M4 chips are going to start shipping in Macs by the end of the year. Now, what Macs
Yep.
they are, we still haven't seen the Mac Pro or the Mac Studio get the M3 of any sort. So maybe they're not, right? Maybe they're going to
Hmm.
skip straight to the M4s. Who knows? Um, but when does it cross that threshold to where the Mac Pro is already a niche thing, right?
Right.
It's definitely a niche.
Professionals.
The
Yep. People who need that
Studio,
power.
yeah, Studio, a lot of creators get the Studio,
Hmm.
right? A lot of people that do YouTube and podcasting and all that kind of stuff because they want that stability and that processing power. But I keep having this thought of when do we get to the point where those things are so niche that Apple starts, they don't make the iMac anymore because your general
Yeah.
consumer that doesn't need power and extra speed and all of that kind of stuff is just going to buy a MacBook Air.
Right.
I don't know.
No one wants to be tied to a desk or tethered to a desk anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Not students, not professionals, not lawyers, not doctors, no one wants to be tied to a desk. And I think that the culture, we talked about digital nomads, even if we're not talking about the extreme where you want to go to a different country and work, you still just want to work from your front porch or your backyard, or like you from your
Yeah.
hammock in the backyard. No one wants to be tied to a desk unless the job requires it, right? Unless your job
Yeah.
requires you to be tied, government
I mean,
jobs and stuff like that, you have to be in one place.
my
Everyone else
daughter,
wants to be mobile.
yeah, my daughter applied for a work from home job as part of this process that she's going through, and
Right.
they would supply her with a laptop.
Yeah.
And when we used to let people work from home, right,
Hmm.
their desktop went home with them. It was the
Right.
whole setup, right? The desktop, the monitors, and
Yep. The phone,
nope.
everything. Yep.
They told her she would have a laptop and 2 monitors. I'm like,
Yep.
okay, because that's what they're giving her. So, I see this coming, and I think about this like my grandkids. I know you said, okay, we're going to eventually talk about restrictions and distractions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if I think about my grandkids, if I came home and said, hey, you have to go sit here at this desk to do your homework,
Hmm.
they would look at me like I was crazy because they're used to having the tablet that they go sit where grandpa is or where mom is, or they go
Right.
sit on the
Right.
couch or go sit outside and all that kind of stuff. And so, um, I just don't see it. By the time they get to where they have real heavy homework, high school, maybe middle school, but high school kind of stuff, you ask a high schooler what they want from a computing standpoint, and
Hmm.
they want a tablet or they want a laptop. There's
Yeah.
no mention of a desktop in there. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's great that they drop these prices. Maybe when they release the M4s, they'll start doing M1 iMacs or M2 iMacs at Walmart or something like that. There
Hmm.
still is a place for some of this kind of stuff. And
There is.
I know that some families, they can only have one computer and they need the best that they can, the cheapest that they can. But that's part of why they've been buying these desktops all in ones, because you can go buy a Windows PC all in one for
Hmm.
ridiculously cheap, right? Or you can get a Chromebook. But again, that's a Chromebook, not a laptop. So when you put this in the document, I was like, I just wonder how much longer desktop computers are going to be
Right.
around for your average consumer.
Yep. Yep. Still a good thing for like computer labs and things like that, or like you said, the one family computer cancel. Sorry,
Yeah.
No
labs and stuff
problem.
like labs and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm with you. I see this going the way of the iPod pretty soon.
Well, I have one more that I threw on here, Jason, just because it caused me some angst the other day.
Yep.
So the latest round of updates with everything, when Apple releases updates, right, it includes the HomePods and the Apple TVs, and I have all of those set to auto update because I just don't want to fiddle with going in and doing those. My phone, I'm a little
Which is
more
exactly the
control
reason
on.
why you shouldn't do that.
I know, but so remember when 17 released, I was having all these issues with, like, when I would transfer music from one room to another, from one set of HomePods to another, and
Hmm.
having issues with them connecting. I was constantly resetting them and all that kind of stuff. Well, these latest updates have, from what I can tell and from what I've seen other people say too, if you've got a pair of HomePod minis
Hmm.
that are stereo paired and you're using them as the audio output for an Apple TV, there's some setting conflict in there, because every time I ask the assistant to play a playlist, they'll say, okay, now playing said playlist. Sorry, there was a problem with Apple Music.
Hmm.
And so I spent like an hour and a half. I reset them all, redid all the connections, was very methodical about it. And now, if I want it to do that, I have to actually choose between whether it's set as the default audio for my Apple TV or whether I want to be able to use the voice commands to play music.
So
Stupid. So
so the
stupid.
problem is still here. I mean, it's you're still
It's come
having a
back.
problem.
It went away. It went away. They stabilized all of that. It
Mm.
got so much better. I didn't even notice stuff, right?
Yeah,
But now all of a sudden, with this last set of updates, 17.4, and whatever the equivalents were for all this stuff, it came back. And so it's frustrating because TV speakers are crap, right?
yeah,
So you want to have something else. And it doesn't do it on my big HomePods. They're fine because I've got
yeah.
them stereo paired on the big TV downstairs, and I've got the mini stereo paired on my TV and in my bedroom. So that's back. And so there's nothing you can do about it. So I've learned to just go into the home app, tap on the stereo pair, and start music there. And then the voice commands work fine,
Hmm.
unless you need to switch to another playlist or something like that. So it's something that's going on there. I don't know. Kind of frustrated with that it came back. I hope they get it fixed. So if you're having similar problems, it is because they're stereo paired, and as the output for an Apple TV, there's got to be a setting conflict somewhere in there
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
doing it.
yeah.
So,
Something's causing that.
but it's funny. I went back and searched on it, and almost every year, 2022, 2023, 2024, there's somebody pops in and say, hey, my just started doing this. So
Hmm.
something keeps coming back.
So yeah, they keep that thread going.
Yep.
So yeah, hopefully they're aware of the issue and they get it corrected. I did see some stuff about the problem with the ghost touch that they were having on
On the watch.
the new Ultra and all of that, and an article, I guess some insiders saying that Apple sent out a memo: don't replace watches because of that. They're aware of the issue and they're going to be fixing it. So that's another issue that's coming up. They just recommend um, doing the whole just restoring it and stuff like that, which is what they're going to do anyway for any issue that you have. So if you're having a problem with that, oh, and they extended it to other the Series 9 and the original Ultra too. So if you're having those issues, just we got to be
Yeah.
a little patient with that
My
and the
watch,
issue with the
my
HomePods.
watch is rock solid. I mean, I haven't had
Yeah,
issues. I mean, I know you did, because Apple doesn't love your watch. They like your
yeah,
watch.
they like
But
my Apple likes.
But Karen's watch, for 2 days by like 11 o'clock would be completely drained.
Mm,
And so I'm like, so I went and I, hard closed all the apps and reset it, and then it still did it. And so then I went in and realized she hadn't updated to 10.4. So, but it actually
okay,
had problems updating to 10.4, but we've updated it to 10.4, and whatever was in there, it's finally cleared out. And she's got, I think it's a Series 7. It's my titanium that I had right before the
okay,
Ultra, right? It's
yeah.
that's what it is. And um
Is Series 8, right? I believe it was a Series 8 that came in the
I'm
titanium and they had the white.
it's
The,
the edition version, whatever it
okay,
was.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember. But anyway, so she's got that. It was a 7. No, because we're on 9, so it's got to be a
Hmm.
7, because I got the 8, or instead of the 8, I got the Ultra, and now we're on 9 in the Ultra
And
2.
yep, so
Yeah.
it is a 7,
So it's
the
got to be a
edition.
7. So, but I was like, okay, I really don't want to have to buy her a new watch. And she'll tell me, oh, I don't need it. I'll just go back. But I know how much she uses
Yeah.
all of the feature functionality on it. So But yeah, so
Yeah.
that's the other thing. If you've got problems like that, make sure you update the software, which I did check on my HomePods. They are on the
They're
latest
up to
version.
date. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you restart them? Did you power them off and power them back on?
I did everything. I restored them to factory settings because they're actually super easy to set up, right? It's just hold your
Right.
phone next to it and it runs away with it. But yeah.
Yeah. Also, let me clarify too. When I say reset, I don't mean wipe your profile and wipe that. Apple's recommending that you hold both buttons down. Close all the apps, hold both buttons down. The same way you do on your phone, the soft
Yeah.
reset. So not
Yep.
a full reset. Don't
Yeah.
unpair your watch and do all of that. Hold both the function button and the crown on the older ones and do that reset, not the reset. They're recommending that to resolve the issue. So
Yeah. Just one
all
other
right.
thing real fast. I think Wyatt's going to have to get a new phone. He's on a 12. And
Mm,
he sent me a message and said, "Hey, my charging port keeps saying that there's water in there." And I'm like,
mm,
"Okay, did you get it wet?" He's like, "I don't think so." So he's cleaned it out. We've let it dry out. It doesn't work. Luckily, it does wireless charging. So
MagSafe.
that's how
Yep.
he's charging it right now. So I said, "Okay, well, I'll go look." And I said, "Oh, I think your phone's in good shape. So you can get a $200 trade in on it." And then he turned around and showed me the back. And I went,
It's
"Oh,
smashed.
yeah, never mind. Recycle." So
It's smashed. Yep.
yeah, he said it was really just this whatever this last case he put on it doesn't seem to have protected it as much. He said it was fine up until then, but so
Right.
yeah, I think he'll be in the market for another one. And I've given him a few options because he's an adult now. He can pay for his own phone. I told him he can
Hmm.
take the 12 that I'm using as continuity camera right now for a while if he needs to, but he just took my wireless charging stand out of my office and is charging with that because everything else seems to work fine.
Right.
And he's like, "But I think I'm going to buy my own wireless." I said, "Oh yeah, all in on all in on
Yeah.
wireless."
Yeah.
So
That's the way to go. Then he doesn't have to worry about that port at all.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So the last one. Where is my darn iPad? Like when it she asks me almost every week, almost daily, like no news on the iPad, no news. And let me say, I try not to message you every time it hits me, but several times throughout the day, I'm reminded that I traded my iPad in too early. Yeah, I listen to the rumors. I listen to the rumors. I check
How long has
every
it
few
been?
days.
What has it been? A month now that you've been without an iPad?
Yep, yep. And this is yeah, this is terrible. That old iPad Air that I use, I don't even use it. I leave it in the shed in the shop back there, and I don't even take it out. It's useless. It's useless. I'm not gonna rant. I'm not gonna turn this into a rant, but I check almost every few days, every other day or so, and the current iPad trade-in value is still the same. So I could have held on to my iPad. It still would have been spotless, no damage. Traded it in this week, and still would have got the same amount. I was
Yep.
just trying to maximize my trade. Listening to the rumors that it was going to be here any moment now, and like we always say, we never can confirm anything with Apple until Tim Cook stands on that stage and says, "This is what it's going to be." And listen to the rumors. Traded in too early, and I'm miserable. I can't get
Well,
anything done.
and now they're saying May 6th, the week of May 6th is the rumor
Yep,
that that's when they'll be
yep,
announced. So you've still got
yeah. Still got a
uh,
few more weeks.
3 more
Yeah.
weeks. That's before they're announced. And then you probably got another 10 days after that. So you're going to be without your iPad for like 2 months.
Yeah, yeah. So I have heard rumors a couple of times, a couple of and I read this on articles is that they're preparing to ship. So they're believing that it's going to be one of those situations where they're like, instead of saying, "Oh, you can pre-order Friday and they'll be available the next week," this will be one of those things where they say they're available today. Go to the store and buy them right now. So when the store comes back up, you'll be able to hit buy and go and pick it up.
Just
That's what they're
Jason
thinking.
will be going, "What's the most expensive one? Buy, pick up in store, and I'm walking out the door."
Right, right. And I've added to my budget. Remember I told you I was saving. The price increased, the rumors kind of went down, and they're thinking it's going to be a little more but not much more. So I'm still adding to that with my old electronics and stuff I sell. So I'll be able still maybe not going to go with 1 terabyte, but I am targeting that 512
Yeah.
somewhere around that, somewhere in the middle. So, and I'm
Well,
going to go with a cellular version this time around too.
yeah. I mean, they're saying that there were two things. One, the screen production, which makes sense, and then the other
Hmm.
piece was the they were waiting for a new version to support whatever hardware or whatever they're doing, and so now
Right.
they've got evidence in 17.5, which is in beta,
Yep.
about these new iPads. So that kind of makes sense that it was those two things coming together, and
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
see. I know you're super excited. I'm kind of less excited with everything I've got going on in my life
Hmm.
right now. I'm not sure I'm ready to introduce another.
Another big ticket purchase and
Yeah, I might end up
managing that
waiting.
device and yeah.
I might end up waiting till WWDC, to be honest, to see what sort of software they're going to put on it and to see where things go. So,
I get it. So, but at least that's one thing. Like you said, the data miners have dug through the code for the latest beta, and it does seem like it's confirmed that we will get some OLED screens. So
yeah,
that's one piece of information that's promising that I got, but still waiting to May, mid-May, maybe early May. We'll see.
yeah.
Hopefully, I am hoping though that it's one of those things where like as soon as the store comes back up, I can hit purchase and go and pick it up or go into the store the same day.
I am really glad I didn't wait any longer to get my MacBook
Yeah,
upgraded, even though the
because
new
you were going to put it
tools,
off,
yeah, even though the
right?
new tools we're using make things much, much easier. My old one might have been okay, but I'm really glad I didn't.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Well, let's wrap things up. This was all I had this week. Like I said, I wanted to keep it short, easy, have a good conversation, and have some
relatively
fun.
short.
Yeah. Yeah. Greg, I was going to ask if you had anything special for next week. If not, then I'll jump in there with my original episode about minimizing device distraction. But what do you got for us?
Now, I was thinking, so maybe we can do that for the main
Okay.
show, and I'll take the post show. I thought we'd do another show how old we are
Yeah. That
thing.
sounds like fun.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun. Okay, so we'll jump into that. So before we wrap up, I guess I'll tell the story that got this started, right? And we'll continue the conversation next week. So I just thought this was a funny story to end on. So my daughter, who's 8, she plays softball, and we were at the game last week or the week before actually, and they're the home team, so they finish at bat. It's time for them to go the next inning to go out to play defense, and everyone they put up their bats and their batting helmets and stuff, and they grab their gloves, and you see them all run out. So, third base runs out because she runs the furthest. Outfield goes out there. My daughter, she's either pitcher or shortstop sometimes, so she goes out, and if you ever been to a little league game, you know how they run. Sometimes they're chaotic, but this part it's the actual Astros Little League. They're pretty organized and they run out. So all the girls run out and they get in their position, except first base. So the coach, who's actually pitching, they share duties between coaching and umpiring and getting everything organized. And they're like, "Hey, where's first base?" And she turns and she looks, and the other coach like, "Hey, where's first base? There's no one on first base." So they look around and she goes back. So me and my wife just happened to be sitting at the end of the dugout. So we're like, wait, where's first base? We're looking around like maybe she went to the restroom and we look and my wife look and she's like, first base is still in the dugout. So I look down there. First base is in the dugout, slumped down at the end of the bench, texting on her phone. These aren't teenagers. I'm not talking about 16, 17-year-olds. I'm talking about I call them babies. These are still babies. I call
Yeah.
my daughter, she's my baby. So first base is still in the dugout texting on her phone. And I'm like, wow, we have some real distraction issues going on. So that's what prompted the whole device distraction was first base from that game. And the coach goes, "Hey, what are you doing? You need to." She sees and she throws down her phone and grabs her gloves and she goes out. So we're at the point now where, not only are they distracted in school and things like that, but even their recreational pastime, which is softball, they're still distracted even doing that. So that's what brought on this whole show. So next week we'll talk about some tips and things that you can use to minimize device distraction.
Sounds good.
All right, folks. Well, thanks for listening this week. Again, we'll be back. We'll hopefully we'll be sticking to our regular scheduled program as much as we can. But until then, we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.